Hola, it's me, and I'm still dressed like slutty Daffy Duck? Or Daisy Duck? Or is it Daphne Duck? I'm pretty sure it's Daisy Duck, but Daphne Duck would have been cuter. I like these little plaits. Anyway, I am going to tell you about why I'm celibate and my sex addiction and why I stopped making YouTube videos, why I stopped making videos about my sex life, because obviously I'm not having sex anymore, because I'm celibate. There's a lot of things that, like, brought me to being celibate. One of them I'll address at the end, and I'm not ready to talk about just yet. But a lot of you were like, I'm saying a lot of you, like, I have like one follower, like, it's fine. Like, I should just like FaceTime like the one person that watches my videos and be like, this is what's going on. But it all started with me becoming a sex addict, which I already enjoyed sex. Everybody knows that my whole thing was like, I'm like an easy lay, pretty much. Which I thought was funny at the time, because it was funny. It was funny when I really was not an easy lay. And I never was an easy lay. Like, if I didn't want to, like, fuck you, I wouldn't. Like, there was no two ways about it. But things did get out of hand really quickly for a while. And the, like, main factor in that was that I started making YouTube videos about my sex life. And if you go back and watch the video... I had made a few, like, sex life stories, like, a few years ago. I think they're still up, unless I made them private, but it was never, like, a thing. And then I made the video about the two brothers, and I still will do an update on that because I've seen both of them since, and it's been very awkward because they obviously know that that video was about them. Because I was very detailed, very descriptive, and more focused, more to the point. My content's really gone downhill, and that's another thing that happened. It just was all bad. So I started making these videos that really was just because I was telling my friends about these things and that were happening, that were kind of unbelievable, that it was, like, funny, and it was. I enjoyed making those videos. I had fun making those videos, and that's probably why they did so well, and why they just were, like, a better quality. But because I was making these videos and I was getting a lot of attention from them and a lot of, like, congratulations, like, people were like, oh, I love your videos, they're so funny, they're so cool, like, I can't wait to see the next one. And I had made content here and there in the past, like my music video and my music and just, like, other weird little things that, again, were just for me and my friends, because I enjoyed doing it. And then, you know, overnight I got over 1,000 followers, and I was like, wow, like, this is the way to go. I've tapped into my hidden talent. I knew I was great in bed, but who knew that it could, you know, also make me all this money from not prostituting, which is probably, like, it's so, because, like, now I look back and I consider it pretty much prostituting, because while these men weren't paying me, I was having sex with them for the sole purpose of having something to talk about, which made me money. So by proxy, I would consider it sex work, but that's neither here nor there, and I'm sure sometime down the track me saying that is gonna, like, come back to haunt me, but it is what it is. That's how I look at it now. It's not how I looked at it then, but it was not good. So I was making this money, just making videos that I enjoyed making. Who doesn't want to make money doing something that you find fun, right? And the videos were fun to make, but as I was saying, I started having sex with men for the sole purpose of having something to talk about on my YouTube channel, because that's kind of all my channel was. at the time, because it wasn't really a YouTube channel beforehand. Like, I didn't really post on it or anything like that. So I was looking for content. And fun fact, if you're not somebody that sleeps with men, most men aren't that great in bed. Most men aren't that interesting. And for it to be interesting, something either bad, crazy, or just ridiculous has to happen, which isn't a sustainable work model, particularly when it involves your body, your physical body. So I was having sex with men and not getting content out of it. So I would have to have sex with more men, or this is what I was thinking, I would have to have sex with more men, hoping for that 1 out of the 10 that was going to be video worthy. And more and more it just wasn't happening, and then it became not about content. It quickly became about, it just was a habit, it was an addiction, and it was a routine. And before that, I had been having sex frequently with either people I was seeing or people I had, you know, met and then like slightly got to know, and then, you know, it was just like a hookup, like, but I wasn't just out having sex with guys back to back, and sometimes that's what was happening. I do want to say that I had always been safe, luckily, otherwise this would be a very different video, I'm imagining. And at first it was fine. At first I was just having sex and I was enjoying it. I was enjoying some of it more than others. But not only was I having sex with people that I really otherwise wouldn't have had sex with, but also I was having sex with people that I was seeing. So it became a lot of sex. Sometimes I would have sex with 4 men in one night. Again, always safe. I can't even begin to describe the anxiety I've always had about STIs through sex. I just always have. I've always had anxiety about STIs, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Obviously, sometimes it makes me a little too paranoid, particularly towards the end of my, like, sex addiction. But, and I have a very addictive personality, unfortunately, and that's really shot me in the foot quite a few times. So you would think by now I'd have known better, but I didn't. It's not something I thought would become addiction because, you know, we're warned about addiction in the form of drugs and alcohol, gambling, smoking, you know, food, things like that. You're not really taught sex can become an addiction, and it really can. But what was I saying? STIs. So luckily through that period, I did absolutely everything I could to prevent STIs. But there's always a 1% chance, or probably even greater than that, of you contracting something. I had always had anxiety, but in one of my, if not my first relationship, I was seeing a man for an entire year. And this was before, like, YouTube or anything like that. Before most of you probably knew me. And we had been seeing each other, and, like, we'd have sex, and then eventually I became comfortable enough, and this was very naive of me. I was very young. We didn't, like, get tested together or anything, and we actually, I guess, because I was also early on in my transition, I was very insecure about the possibilities of people being attracted to me. And that's probably another thing that played into me becoming a sex addict, and we'll get to that. But right now we're talking about the anxieties of STIs. I had been seeing a man. By the end of our relationship, we had been seeing each other for a year. We never had the discussion of if we were exclusive, if we were, what we were doing, really. We actually didn't really talk about much, and that's because I, one, was, as I said, insecure about the possibility of finding someone who would be interested in me, which is really upsetting to say because I'm a very confident person and I see the value in myself. But at that time, I was unsure if other people did. And to a certain degree, I'm still unsure if other people see the value in me that I see in myself. So it's kind of a paradox. And we hadn't had that discussion, and he had been seeing other people, and he gave me chlamydia. And I had chlamydia for about 6 months untreated. I didn't know. And obviously, given that there was anal involved, it was rectal chlamydia. And I know this is probably too many details, but STIs are just, if you're having sex, it's a fact. Like, you're at risk. So we may as well talk about it. And I started having regular, like, daily spotting, bleeding, and I was really worried. For like a good 3 months. I was like, what could it be? Because I was also aware, like, yeah, of course anal can create like anal tears and things like that, but this is getting beyond. And I, in my brain and in my soul, had come to the terms with the fact that I possibly had like bowel cancer, rectal cancer, some sort of situation going on. And then there was a day in particular that it just was like, you would have thought I had been shot. And I went to the ER. They were like, there's nothing really like going on. We're gonna like do blood tests and like swab tests, and I had chlamydia. Luckily it was only chlamydia, but I had it for about 6 months, if not longer, untreated. And that, if I didn't have enough anxiety already, that really just made it 1,000 times worse, right? So I already had insecurities about people being able to see value in me, and anxiety about STIs. So it was never going to be a good thing if I started having a lot of sex, was it? I'm a very sexual person though. That's never been fake or disingenuous, but I haven't always been having a lot of sex, like a lot of people might think. So then, YouTube comes around. I'm starting to get congratulated on content about sex. So I start having more sex, so I have more content, so I can start receiving these congratulations and seeing that people do value me in the way that I value myself. And the reason I say it like that is because I do value myself. It's not about, I don't think anyone could love me, or I don't think I'm worth it. I know I'm worth it. I just don't trust that other people have it in their brains to see that. So I start having more sex, and then it becomes a habit, and it becomes an addiction, and there would be nights where I'd have sex with 4 men in a row. There would be nights where I just didn't have sex at all, but I was frequently having sex for about a year. If I were to like guesstimate, make a rough estimate, I would say in that year I probably had slept with somewhere between 70 and 90 men, which I'm not proud to admit. That's embarrassing, that's humiliating. Because why? It's not embarrassing or humiliating, like, it's a choice I made, but it's not like, I'm not proud of it, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not proud of it. And then, I was running out of content to make. I was having sex with all of these men, and I had no stories to tell. And it began to impact my life. It started out, I would have sex after work, and the sex would go well into the morning, and then I'd be tired at work. And then eventually I became worn down. I couldn't show up to work. And then while I wasn't at work, I would be having sex anyway. So it became this vicious cycle where I ended up not working for about 6 months, and all I was doing was having sex. By that time where I wasn't working, I was only seeing 4 men, but continuously. Like, it was a problem, it was a habit. And where the anxiety about STIs comes in is that if I got a flu, if I got a cough, if I if I got bit by a mosquito and I scratched it too hard and I felt like the wound was taking too long to heal, immediately I thought, this is it. I have absolutely every STI in the world. It's too late. We're past the point of, you know, savior, and I'm gonna die. And it was crippling. It was ruining my life. And I don't know how to describe that. If I cut myself shaving, I would be like, it's herpes. It's herpes. I got what I deserve. Who do I have to blame other than myself? And that would be the truth. If I was putting myself in that situation and I contracted something, or I had put myself in that situation and I had contracted something, then it would be, I don't want to blame people for getting STIs, because obviously the other person needs to manage like what they have and all of that, but I was the one putting myself at risk. And I really was. And I knew it was becoming a problem because now I'm not working. Now I'm running out of money because I'm trying to like keep myself afloat while I'm not working. I'm constantly in fear that absolutely anything that happens to my body is a sign that I have some like STI of any sorts, which I don't want to have to deal with, and I have nobody to blame. And it just was bad. It was really, really bad. It was like, there would be nights I would just cry myself to sleep and be like, why do I do this? And then the next day just be having sex. And I would think the same thing. Why am I doing this? It's not, even though by that point, as I said, I was just having sex with the same 4 men, but I don't know what they're doing when I'm not around. I don't know if, I don't know everything about STIs. I don't know what is and isn't possible. Luckily for me, I didn't contract anything, and I'm more surprised than anyone else because, like what? Like, it was so crippling that I just had come to terms with it. I just was like, it is what it is. I didn't catch anything, luckily, and I'm so glad, but that was really, really rough. And so I started to think, I'm running out of money. It's impacting absolutely everything. I'm about to go to LA. And when I get back from LA, I just need to figure it out. I just need to sort it out. I need to like talk to someone about it. Or how hard can it be? Just stop having sex. So I go to LA and, well, I'm in LA with my friend. I have sex with about 6 men that I don't know, I'm never going to see again. I'm staying in a hotel in Burbank, LA, and I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm in more danger than just catching STIs. I need to get it together. I will say that my thinking at the time was, well, these men are famous, these men are successful, these men have a lot to lose from something happening to me. So I'll be okay. This can be my mistake, okay? I fucked up, I made it out alive, I'll learn and I'll move on. But I had in my mind already the idea of going celibate. The reason I had that idea in my mind is because I met this guy on Facebook, of all places, and I went to his place, and he's really cool. I still kind of talk to him on and off. Although that situation, and he might be watching this, if you are, no shade to you, but I get there and it's like him and like 3 other guys, and this isn't going where you think it is. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't know any of you, and also I was really like actually hoping to like get to know this guy, because I was like, oh, like, you know, why not? Why not? Not bad looking. We'll see if he is like a cool guy. I think he's a cool guy, like, he really is. And he actually was celibate. I don't know if he's still celibate. I think he is. I'm not 100 on that, but him and his friend, I don't know if they were like having a competition or something. I think they were having a competition about like who could be celibate the longest. it sounded like to me. I don't know, because I kind of just like sat there like silently because I didn't know these people. And one guy in particular, who I actually think is a really cool guy as well, just was like the only person talking for the whole time. So there's that. It just was like a awkward situation. Like I'm here to like get to know you. Like I think that would be really cool. And this is another thing. They were like talking about being celibate, and I was like, oh, this is like kind of a sign, like it's something I need to work on. But I found myself not knowing how to communicate with these men because I had become so used to just having sex with men. So why would I need to communicate with them? So that was another thing that went into my brain, is like, this is also impacting your social skills. Like, I don't know how to be like friendly, like, ha, let's be friends, because I've not needed to be, because I've just been having sex with men. That's a problem. That's a problem for a lot of reasons. So not only was it like planting the seed of like celibacy is possible, you know, you don't have to be a nun, but also it was kind of like eye-opening to myself and reflective of like, you don't know how to make friends without fucking them. Unless they're women. Like, I don't want to say that to be like, I don't know how people are going to interpret that, but I didn't know how to make friends with men without fucking them. So then I go to LA and I'm like, shit, like I'm still having sex and I shouldn't be. So we get back from LA, I'm still having sex, I find a job and I'm like, okay, like I'm working now. I can't let sex impact that. If I'm going to have sex with these 4 men that I know, and not the same 4 men from that party, let me get that clear. I didn't have sex with any of them, in case one of them is watching, or someone that, not that group of 4 men. I hardly knew them. I still hardly know them. I think they all seem really lovely. But anyway, moving forwards, and I'm like holding back a cough, and now my nose is blocked, so I can't hear myself. So I don't know if you guys can hear me. I don't know if I'm being too loud or too quiet, but anyway. Yeah, so I'm working out, I have to have less sex. So I start kind of cutting back, and then I get invited to the premiere of The Bachelor. I think it was Channel 10 and Kiss FM. We're doing like a premiere. So my friend and I went there, and it really was a moment of like clarity to me, because at the end of the night, I ended up sleeping with someone that I was like, why am I doing this? Other than that, I think this person was a presenter of some kind of show, whether that be radio, TV, the news, like someone in the media. I ended up sleeping with him, and I was like, why am I doing this? It's doing nothing for me. I'm uncomfortable, I'm tired, I need to get on a plane in 2 hours, I shouldn't be doing this, and I'm really, really fucking drunk. And I was like, okay, this is it. So I go home, and I go home and I move into my parents' house, because that was kind of around the time I went completely bankrupt, because I had been living off the money that I had saved, because I couldn't work, because I was busy ruining my life by having sex with men that just weren't worth my time. So I go home, move all my stuff into my parents' house, and then I go back to Sydney to a rehab for sex addicts. Now, the thing with that is, if you put a bunch of sex addicts in a house, they all just have sex. So it made things worse. This facility doesn't offer that program anymore, with good reason. I did get my money back, because I was like, this was a waste. You put me in a situation. You wouldn't say to a heroin addict, hey, come to our rehab, here's heroin. You wouldn't. You wouldn't say, hey, we have this rehab facility, but it's actually, Jeff, he cooks meth out the back. You wouldn't do that. So I was not happy about that. I got my money back, luckily. And then this is the part that I'm not ready to talk about. And the only reason I'm mentioning it now is because a lot of people did want to know about why I was celibate, why my content had changed, why I wasn't posting at all, aside from being broke and bankrupt, why my Instagram bio said I was celibate, all of this. So I did want to give an explanation. But I got back, I went out, I had been going out a few nights, nothing was happening, okay? I think I had sex with 2 men in like a 4-week period, okay? That was really good for me, and I knew these 2 men, they were my regulars, okay? People I could count on, people I trusted. And I had been going out, and I was like, okay, like, this is gonna be like the last hurrah. I'm not going to have sex. I want to be celibate. And I was assaulted. And that was the nail in the coffin for me. And it's not something I'm ready to talk about. The reason that I'm mentioning it in this video at all is because eventually I will talk about it. And I know that when I do, I will say it was a part of why I went celibate. So if I don't mention it in this video right now, I'm going to look like a liar and I don't need to be involved in a witch hunt. But that really was the nail in the coffin. And I just said, I'm lucky I haven't caught anything. I'm lucky I've survived this. I'm lucky that I have the support network I do and I have the resources to help myself, but I haven't helped myself soon enough. And now look what happened. And it just put me in a really, I doubted myself, I doubted whether people would believe me, all of that stuff. And I just knew that the decision for me was to stop having sex entirely. So I swore to myself that I was going to be celibate. You know, and there have been situations in the past where a man wouldn't leave my apartment and I swung a Midori bottle at him and I had to call security, and there have been situations where things had gotten dangerous. Or, no, they were about to, or like things had escalated where I wasn't comfortable, but nothing like this. So it really, I've held off from telling this story because of the, you know, final defining factor isn't something I want to talk about just yet. But I think it is important to talk about in the future when I'm ready. But there really was a lot of things that came into play with how I developed a sex addiction because I was being congratulated for having sex. That it ruined my life because I couldn't work because I was having sex. I tried to take care of it and was put in a situation where it only made things worse. And on top of that, I ended up in a situation I had hoped to never be in. As well as the crippling anxiety. I swear I'm not about to cry. I'm just holding back a cough and my nose is blocked. But I was crippled by anxiety about STIs that I luckily did not get, you know, and after that time I had chlamydia. That was something that because when that happened, I was like, you know what, thank God it's curable. If I get something, you can probably tell I'm a very dramatic person, so if I were to contract something that was not curable, I don't know how I would handle it. I want to believe that I would be rational and all of this, but I probably wouldn't be. Particularly for that time of my life, there was a lot of things not going great, like my finances, my living situation, even some of my friendships had fallen apart. So everything in this 3-month period really came to a head, and I just had to take a step back and go, what do I care about? What do I want? I've sworn off sex until I meet someone that I'm ready to be with. And that's when I'll be ready to have sex again. If that changes for whatever reason, then I may start having sex again, but I just need to be cautious and wary of why and who with. And that they understand why I might have reservations about these things, you know? And it's a hard thing to talk about because I know how ridiculous it sounds as well. Oh, I was addicted to sex. You know, I understand that in the back of people's minds, they might just be like, okay, you weren't addicted to sex, you're just a slut. I get that. And there were times where I was just a slut. The end. Like, that's all it was. I just was like, hooking up. But it did become a problem and it nearly ruined my life. And in retrospect, it could have got me killed. It could have, there's a lot of things that could have gone wrong. And if I didn't have the people in my life that I do, who's to say I'd be here? And that's a really upsetting and scary thing to think about, but unfortunately, that sometimes can be the reality. So I really don't know how to end this video, because where do you go from there? Maybe explain some of my content, why it's changed and it's going to continue to change, why I haven't been posting on Instagram, because a lot of the time, even after what happened, I tried to go back to the regular scheduled programming of being like, oh, my ass, I'm being slutty, look at me, oh. And I just for about, I'm not going to say a long time, because what happened about 2 to 3 months ago. So for like about a month and a half, I just had like a disconnect from my body. So I don't think I'll be posting that kind of thing for a while. If I do, just know that it's for me and that it makes me happy, because it's something that did always make me happy, was, you know, looking sexy. Because it's funny. I found it funny, and it lost its humor when it became a problem. So if I find the humor in that again, yes, I will post some ass shots. I'm sure you guys aren't just waiting. You guys aren't like, damn, another day, no ass shot. What are we gonna do? I know you people don't care. But it is what it is, and there was something else I was gonna say. I do have some other stories about like my hookups that are funny. As I said, one of them being a part 2 to the Brothers, a revisit, the sequel. So there are some, and when I'm ready to start telling those kinds of stories again, I will. But I'm just gonna work on making content that I like, which can be hard when a lot of people, I say this like I'm some big YouTuber, I'm not, I don't think that. But when the people that watch you predominantly know quite a bit about your life, it's hard to not come back and feel like you have to explain a few things, because I didn't post for like 3 to 4 months. So if I just come out of nowhere and I'm making like how to make a sheet ghost costume, people are going to be like, what? Who are you? What happened to you in those 4 months? So you kind of got to explain it, otherwise things just don't make sense. So hopefully this is the only thing I need to explain for now, and I can just go on and make whatever content I think is funny, whatever content I think is fun. I'm going to have to re-look for that, because I found what was fun and it became very dangerous to me. But we'll get there, and we'll get there together, hopefully. If you manage to make it all the way to this part, you deserve a medal. You deserve some kind of nomination for something, because I certainly get tired of listening to myself, and I have to listen to myself all the goddamn time. But yeah, you know the drill. Like and subscribe. My Instagram's jolene.dawson. My Twitter is jolene_Dawson. I have a feeling that will probably be where I get a bit like sexy, but I need to find a way where it's humorous, because I can't just be sexing it up. It's just not where I'm at anymore. But we'll figure it out. And I am going to lay down, steam my throat. Very fitting for this video. Have some lozenges, have some cough syrup. One of those Vicks things. That didn't look too good. I'm a sex addict. Speaking of, poppers did nothing for me. I tried them once and it just gave me a headache. Anyway. I'm just glad that I get to cough after this video. Yeah, let's see what kind of content I make and come up with. Look out for Trial by Kyle, November 14th. On Channel 10, 8:30, download the 10 Play app so you can watch it anytime you like, after it airs on TV, obviously. Yeah, like and subscribe. Ooh.